How's it going, everyone? My name is Swanee, and thanks for stopping by and checking out my channel. Today, I'm joined by my friend and editor Cookie, and we're going to be going over the latest news and popular discussions going on currently in the Helldivers 2 community. Now, for yesterday's video, we tried out this format where instead of just one of us going over the news, we went with a more unscripted, podcasty kind of vibe where we both go over the information together and give you guys our thoughts and opinions on it. And a lot of you really seem to like that video, so today we're both back at it again to bring you the latest Helldivers 2 information. So at any point in this video, if you guys enjoyed it, then please consider hitting the like button. It helps us out a lot in the algorithm, and it's greatly appreciated. So with that said, what have we got to talk about today, Cookie?
Well, we're going to start things off with the major order. It is now over 24 hours into progress, and so far it is at 17% done, which is kind of surprising to me because if you do the math, it's a 6-day order. The first of those days is done now. And if you do the math, I believe we would not accomplish the mission in time. And what I think is very interesting about this is, what does that mean? And also, how would Arrowhead work this out? I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Like, would Arrowhead, if it's not complete, Arrowhead could take this in a total different direction, and even if it is complete, they could take it in a total different direction. But it's interesting because we're going to be insanely close. Because as it goes right now, I think it would make it on the last day, they'd be at like 96 or 97%, which is crazy close to completing it. So this could definitely come right down to the wire the way things are going, because I would usually expect the first day to have the most activity. So the Helldivers are going to have to step up their game if they're going to complete the major order. So that's the first thing.
Well, we're also going to
concerned about that.
I mean, we're getting new content tomorrow with the new War Bond, and we're going to be heading into the weekend. So I feel like a lot of players will still turn out over the weekend to check out the new content. So that will give us a big boost towards the major order. But
that's fair.
Yeah, but at the same time, I do think it's interesting to see, like, if we didn't complete it, I feel like they have a backup plan at all times. Like, in case the community doesn't get it, they could be like, oh no, they overwhelmed us and they took over, and they could give the enemy like a buff or something. I feel like they have it written into their overall plot. Like, I just feel like they have a backup plan.
I would hope that they do. I mean, I guess if you want to be a little conspiracy, that you could say they could always flub it to make sure that we win. I hope that doesn't happen. But I would assume that they probably do have another idea. I even mentioned this with the whole mech thing. The last major order, what would happen if they weren't successful? Would the robots get the mech? Like, it would be some very interesting things that they could do if they decided to. And I think that adds so much to this game overall if they actually do have that, almost like a Dungeons and Dragons type what happens next get randomized in some ways kind of a process. So
yeah, I want to see if we fail, like if it gives the enemies just a major buff and it just makes us suffer after that. That would be cool.
That would be interesting. I would love to see how the community responds to that. With how there's plenty of upset people about how hard the game is. If something like that happens, I wonder if that would hurt them or if it would help them. It helped them in my mind. I don't know if it would help them in everybody's mind. So we'll have to wait and see, but not off to the best start in the major order. Also, the bugs that we were talking about yesterday do officially have a name. They are known as Shriekers. And if there was any doubt as to whether they were legit or not, I think all those doubts are put to bed now. There have been tons of different pictures and some video of these Shriekers now. A lot of people have seen them, and it's all but confirmed, even though the CEO is still playing his part in the role-playing of saying this is all propaganda. But yeah, it definitely looks like they are coming. I don't know entirely what capacity they're going to have, but they are absolutely in the game, and it looks like they were patched in the most recent patch, or put in the most recent patch. So like we said yesterday, I think that they're going to add something very terrifying to this game, because it's going to be a completely different place to look out for it. And yeah, that would be a pretty major concern, I think. But they're definitely in the game. So that's basically what that point was. It's definitely going to happen. Mm-hmm. And the next thing that's kind of a conversation point is something I think we touched on very, very briefly yesterday, which is this whole thing about the Termicide and whether it might actually turn into or what might come after that. Now like we already said, depending on whether the Termicide is successful or not in the major order may make a big difference too. But a lot of people on Reddit, on Twitter, and even in our YouTube comments have mentioned that they think that this Termicide is going to cause a completely different problem. Like there's going to be a rebirth of different creatures. Some people think they're just going to be different kinds of Terminids. Some people think they're going to be, the Shriekers might be one of those kind of morphed creatures. So like the one comment from our last video by Calbob says, I think the release of the Termicide will force the bugs to adapt or mutate them, leading some hunters to evolve into the flying variants. Another comment here by Stitch X Stitch 225 says, new theory, what if the Termicide is actually something that inadvertently causes Terminids to forcefully evolve to combat the whole inoculation project? And this just goes on and on. So if that is where they're planning on taking this has definitely become a talking point all over Reddit. So Swanee, do you think that the Termicide is going to turn into basically evolved versions of Terminids, or as some people have said, the new leaked species known as the Illuminate? Do you think it's going to possibly turn into them?
Honestly, I think it kind of goes like back to the whole, I think they have a backup plan. I think it will turn out differently based off of what happens. Like if we beat them or if we fail, like they could easily just say, oh no, the Terminids took over and they got into the chemicals and they broke down the machines and then they evolved because they were exposed to the chemicals, or we disperse the chemicals and we find out that it just affects the bugs in the wrong way and it caused them to mutate. Or we could win, push them back, and then while the Terminids are pushed back because we defended these planets, then they introduce this new threat to distract us while the Terminids sort of rebuild their numbers. There's just so many different ways that they could do this. But I think that some sort of mutation is going to happen and it's going to get them wings. But I hope that it mutates them in other ways. I hope we don't just get the flying creatures and that's it. I want to see some sort of, maybe a different color variation or something.
Yeah, I also kind of hope, and this kind of connects two of the talking points, is that this isn't like a situation where no matter what happens, they're going to do the same thing. Like, I understand that they have plans either way, but I hope that that there is some difference whether we accomplish it or don't accomplish it, and not just in the campaign. Like, I think it would be really cool if they actually had something like where if they have content to release either way, I guess is what I'm trying to say, which they might. I mean, this Illuminate faction, we know that there's at least stuff in the files. I don't know how far along that is, but it's at least there. So if one option was we could either release this or we could release bigger Terminids, I think it's kind of cool if they have both of those options depending on how well we do. That might be very hopeful of me to think that they have that much going on, but either way, they've got some options. I think the Shriekers are probably part of it, but the fact that they were put into this patch before the Terminid or the Termicide happens is kind of strange to me. Like, I would think that they wouldn't put that in the game at all at this point,
especially since they know that people
sense.
Data mine it and they share the leaks around and they know that the community has access to this stuff.
Definitely.
It might be part of their marketing strategy. Like they put it in the files. They know it'll get data mined so that people build hype around it.
Yeah, they don't seem to be cracking down on it too hard, or at least they're not outspoken about how upset they are about the leaks like some video game companies would be.
No, normally anytime there's leaks and like you cover it as a YouTuber, that would get shut down so fast with copyright claims. I've gotten copyright strikes, I know, by Rockstar. I covered a Red Dead Redemption character creator leak literally like 10 hours before the game released back in the day, and I got a copyright strike. So like, game companies don't put up with leaks. They just shut that down immediately. So the fact that they haven't been putting down leak videos is very interesting to me.
Yeah, and I know they're not a big game studio like Rockstar or Ubisoft or something, but at the same point, they're not even talking about it, and their CEO is very outspoken. He tweets all the time, and he talks on Discord and Reddit, and he's not said anything about the leaks as far as I know. So that's odd to me. Like, yeah, I would think that they'd be a lot more upset about it if they were upset about it, or at least we'd hear about it, is what I'm trying to say. So
Mm-hmm.
that is a little strange. I know they took down some of the leaked tweets and stuff, but yeah, they haven't been rough on YouTube videos or anything. Yeah, it might be part of their strategy, possibly. So, yeah, something to look out for. Jumping from that, there's a couple different issues that players have been having the last couple of days with the new patch and the new updates and everything, and the new Termicide missions. One of them has been kicking. Now, this is not necessarily a brand new problem, but it seems to be getting worse in the last couple of days or the last week or so, with people getting kicked from games often and not being able to obviously get any of the rewards from those games. We have talked really for the last couple of months about how the community has actually been surprisingly good and not very toxic, but I guess this is something that we would kind of expect is going to happen. Sometimes you're going to get some toxic things. So Swanee, do you think there's any good solution to this kicking problem as far as you can think?
Honestly, I'm not sure, because the game already has like a friends only mode where you can just set it to private and you don't have to have randos join your lobby if you don't want to. But the issue is that they give you the option to just kick people for no reason. There's no like voting system. Maybe if they had a voting system where like the majority of the players in the lobby could vote to kick you out, that might help it a little bit. But at the same time, like, you definitely need to be able to kick people. I've not experienced this issue too much. Like, yes, I've joined a couple matches and then I've gotten kicked, but I don't take it too personally. It's normally pretty easy for me to just find another match. And I have been on the opposite end where I've been the host and you just get teammates that are complete idiots and they'll kill you and they'll kill your teammates and they'll burn through your reinforcements really quickly, or they'll go to the extraction really early and they'll extract before everybody's ready. That's going to happen. You're going to have bad teammates, you're going to have good teammates. But I don't know how they're going to fix this issue. Like I said, maybe a voting system. Otherwise, I honestly don't know. I guess if you just don't want to have randos join you, just play in your own friends only session. That's what I do all the time. Like when I go to record videos and I try to record something specific, I will just load up my own private lobby. That way I don't have to worry about people joining me, and then, you know, if I'm recording, I have to kick them out. So
yeah, it could be partially people are just maybe not aware that there's a friends-only mode, because that would solve a lot of these problems. But also, I think there has been a lot of talk, and Arrowhead devs have come out and said that they are working on an AFK kick. It's just within the last 24 hours I've seen a lot of that. So that would solve some of this problem too, because most of the reason that you need to kick somebody is if they're being AFK. That's really the only good reason, or if they're griefing. Yeah, that could help it too.
I've not experienced much griefing. Like, I've not played a single match where somebody's just purposefully been trying to kill teammates and stuff.
Which is shocking.
Knock on wood. I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really big community too, so for that not to be a problem is shocking, because it's so easy to. I would think it would be so easy to grief. Mm-hmm. You could kill everybody 1,000 times.
You'd probably get kicked. That's probably why people don't do it.
Yeah, so you got to keep kicking in the game to keep griefing down, but at the same time, it's a shame for people that just play online trying to join into groups. So,
and the people that kick just because you're not using a specific loadout, I think is really stupid. There's a lot of meta chasers, and I'm a firm believer of just use whatever you want. It's all about having fun. I don't think there's a specific meta. Hell, when I made my tier list of the weapons, I got so much hate and dislikes for that because I said that some weapons sucked and some weapons were good. But I kept that video up and I let people trash all over it because you're allowed to have different opinions. I don't think there's a set meta that people need to chase. I don't think that this gun is by far the best gun because it depends on the situation. It depends on the mission that you're playing. So, and it depends on the difficulty. So I think kicking people because they're not using the rail gun or the flamethrower, whatever the meta is, I think that's stupid.
That's very stupid. But also the meta keeps changing with patches, as we just saw. So any meta that would have been there is gone now anyway. So yeah, it's kind of weird to me. The last thing as far as issues that I wanted to bring up was the steering lock when it comes to the Hellpods dropping in. There's been a lot of posts about this lately. You're just completely unable to aim where your pod goes. There's been a little bit of there's been some confusion too. Some people thought it was actually part of the patch that you could no longer do steering locks, but I don't think that's actually official. But this is something we've both experienced recently. It basically just sends your pod wherever it wants to, which can be extremely bad for a lot of different reasons. Do you think this isn't a bug? Do you think this is actually something they implemented into the game? I don't think that's been made official or anything, but there are some people who think that's a thing.
Well, I've seen that some people are saying that there's like invisible walls up, so they don't want you to like land on top of hills and stuff with your drop pod. But I have that one ship upgrade. Like, I saved up the super samples and stuff just to get it so I could steer my Hellpod a little bit easier, which is super crucial if you're trying to land on a charger or a Bile Titan or on like a factory for the robots. Like, you have to be precise with where you're landing, and if the controls are shut off, it's not letting you steer, then you just land wherever. Like, that whole ship upgrade that I got is basically useless, because like 9 times out of 10, ever since like the latest patch, I noticed I can't steer where I'm going. So you guys as in my friends, will throw me towards a Bile Titan, and they'll be like, land on the Titan, and then I can't steer, and then I land right in front of it, and then it just stomps on me and insta-kills me, and then I have to spawn in again. So it's definitely frustrating, and if this is an actual design choice, then these developers keep making some really weird decisions, because they had that one in-game like modifier where the stratagems would change randomly, and that was so annoying. They recently got rid of that, and they're trying to redesign that, but things like that aren't fun. That's just, I know it adds to the chaos, but it's not fun. Like, I pick my loadout, I want to use those weapons. Like, things are happening in the spur of the moment. Like, I'm having like 5 chargers up in my face. I don't have time to activate my stratagem and then realize, oh no, it's a freaking cluster bomb when I want it to be like a resupply, and then I ended up killing myself. So if this is an actual design choice and they don't want us to steer where we go, then why? Like, why? I don't get what their purpose for that is. Because even if you land up top, the
booster would be totally useless.
Yeah, the booster's useless.
Yeah, I can't imagine this was a design choice, mostly because they made a booster literally for you to be able to do this kind of stuff. So for them to do that would make absolutely no sense. And I think it has to do specifically with the Termicide missions. It's what I've kind of noticed. And it probably is the invisible walls, because they probably don't want you to land on top of the giant silos. And if and its walls are probably just over the top, and it probably steer locks you a lot earlier than it should. I mean, we could run like tests on that and stuff to see if it's only happening next to the silos, but that's one theory I have. Because the one time it happened to me, it literally steered me into the silo, which is ironic, and I got stuck inside of it. So if that's what they're trying to do, it's not working either. But that would be my just guess, because I think it would be extremely stupid for them to do it, and especially since one of the problems with the addition you're talking about the random stratagems, one of the biggest problems with that is that it was not communicated that well. That's one thing that they said. It didn't come out as part of the patch notes like it was supposed to. So if the steering lock is the same deal, it also wasn't in the patch notes. So that would be them making the same mistake over again.
Well, it was listed in game as a mission modifier, but like a lot of people don't even read the mission modifiers, and that's something you have to pay attention to every single mission that you're loading up on different planets and stuff.
Talking about the random stratagems, not the steering lock.
Yeah, the random stratagems would just be a mission modifier that would pop up, and a lot of people didn't realize that.
That's another issue that's been happening recently, and hopefully we can get that fixed to some degree. So we're coming in towards the end of the video now, and like we said, we wanted to throw out some comments. I've already put some of the comments up from the Termicide thing, but we wanted to read a couple of the comments for you guys. So if you want to see your comments read at the end of these videos, let them rip, and we'll be reading a couple of them every single time. So this one says, this is from Victor Hayes 449, said, why can't they make it so enemy patrols spawn from the nests/fabricators and roam around from there instead of patrols randomly popping into existence? I'm glad the chargers got fixed to HD 1 levels, but mobs grew immense in size. So basically, why aren't they just spawning out of their nests and stuff so you can kind of know where they're coming from instead of just popping out of the ground all the time?
I agree with this to a certain extent. Like, it would make sense if their spawns were tied to the secondary objectives, and then the more, secondary objectives you destroyed, the less enemies would spawn. But I feel like the problem would be towards extraction, there would be no enemies left. Like, if you went through and cleared out all the spawn points, you would just be standing there for 2 minutes waiting for the extraction ship to show up.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But I agree, it is frustrating when you're just walking around and enemies spawn literally right on top of you or beside you. I've had that happen a couple times, and it's like, come on, I need to catch a break. I literally haven't had time to get my ammo back or get more stems or anything. It's just wave after wave after wave. So there definitely needs to be some more fine-tuning that the devs need to do.
Yeah, I think it would be better if most of them came out of the nest and then some of them came out of the ground instead of most coming out of the ground and some coming out of the nest. I think if they just switch that up, that would work, because some of the chaos is nice, but too much is just over the top, in my opinion.
Or they could just wait to come out of the ground till it's extraction time.
Yeah, that might be a little bit better too, because we don't make it too easy, but at the same point don't make it obviously incredibly hard. The last comment I wanted to bring up was by Floating J3236, which just says the Alaskan bullworm, because we talked about the Hive Lord potentially coming into the game as a giant sandworm that could come out from under the ground. The earthquakes and stuff might be related to that. And if you know anything about SpongeBob, you'll know what the Alaskan bullworm is, and we might have it in the game. So I kind of enjoy that. I do kind of like the idea of all the memes that'll come out of that if the Hive Lord is a legitimate thing and we legitimately have a giant worm that can pop up and kill us from underneath.
Yeah, so I love the memes that have come out of this game. There's just so many memes.
Yeah, there should be a few memes that are just have already been shown in this video. There's just so many, which as long as the community's big, it's going to be full of memes. And the Alaskan bullworm would definitely be a prominent meme if the Hive Lord's actually introduced into this game. So thank you guys for putting in the comments. Be sure to do it again, and we'll talk about your comments at the end of the next video.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications. That way you don't miss out on any future Helldivers 2 videos. And we will talk to you all next time. So, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.